a couple things, and this was a little bit impromptu. I have to say, a lot of this trip, it was one of those things where when it began to happen, I had all these great intentions, but as sometimes happens, you catch yourself at the end of it going, oh yeah, it had been a few years since I've done everything. And so I appreciate y'all gathering here sort of at last minute to be a part of this. There's a couple of reasons that we've gathered tonight. First of all, to say thank you to each of you who participated in some way, shape, or form, who donated, and also to encourage future donations and things like that should you want to be a part of what we're doing. I have some things that I put together. I had to confess for our team that we didn't have a lot of time to really super organize this. So my hope is to run through and let you look at a lot of the pictures we've done, a lot of the videos. And so I try to pull from everybody who contributed videos, and I'm going to tell the story of what we're doing, but also allow our team to give testimonials to that. For our team members that are present, we do not have a handheld mic down here. So we'll probably have to end up using this little one microphone. The reason why we want to be on a microphone team is that we are live streaming, and so people cannot hear you at all if you don't talk into our mic. So please don't say, I can talk loud enough. That's not going to be good enough for tonight. So just know that to be the case. So let me talk a few minutes about this, and this is going to take a little bit, so I hope that you're full enough so where you can stand and listen. If you do need to go to the restroom or whatever, if you have to leave, I understand. But I want to be able to go through this with you. Our sister church partnership. I think that's the key word that we've talked about. And I think the team, we use the word mission so much. In this context of this church, our church understands mission so often to be hammers and nails, youth mission trips as what we experience today, the building of things. The difference between these two situations that we're having, and if y'all want to turn around your chairs around so you can feel comfortable that we're going to be here for a few minutes, you can do that. One of the big things about this things is an ongoing partnership, and the partnership really is that we get blessed by our chances to experience people and to be with them, and then the other part of it is that we have we help another church do the work that they believe that God's called them to do, and then we get the blessing of being a part of it. I want to give just a little bit of a history of how this all came to be. I had a hand in a lot of it. Marilyn did too. And so I always believe that churches should be, their witness should go from, the Acts saying, from Jerusalem to Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth. And this is really one of those places that's sort of that Samaria and the end of the earth, where there's social justice issues at place and at the end of the earth. Our current, and when we arrived here as your pastors in 2018, your primary mission focus was very youth-oriented, with adults helping but not engaging adults in the whole of the church doing something about supporting someone else. And so I believed, and I think Marilyn agreed with me, we had the desire for a diversified offering for that. 2018, I went to Cuba for the very first time. Marilyn almost left me because when she went back in 2013, she told me she was going to come home after she went for the first time. And then I went in 2018 and I saw what she was talking about. And so 2018, you all did a great job. We want to thank you for the Christmas Eve offering that was taken. We got connected with Christ for Cuba, which is a nonprofit out of Florida. You'll hear a little bit more about them later. And they've sort of been an ongoing, silent partner in this whole process. We partnered with them, and they actually were the ones who partners with the Cadrillo Church based on my request. After having traveled there before, I said, we need a church that is close to the airport. And because I traveled in 2018, and when you got there in a car, you had, imagine this, you had to get in a car and travel 5 hours after you got there, your destination got there in Cuba. It was a nightmare. But the interesting thing that Ernesto said is that he said, the Lord told me that by living close to the airport, we would be blessed one day. And he says, you're our blessing. And it's the most wonderful thing to hear him say that. And he reminded me of that the last time we were there. And there was nothing contrived in that. It's really who he is. We formed the Christmas Eve offerings I sent for the pastoral salary and the church gift. Exploratory team was formed in 2019 of some key mission leaders. And what was discerned in 2019 after we completed our trip is that there was a strong desire to do labor, but there really wasn't a need for it. And in 2020, we were going to put a further exploratory team to go to see what labor options might be available. And that wonderful thing that we've all talked about too many times over the past 2 years, COVID occurred and pretty much put the brakes on everything for a while. Over 2020 into 2021, when the airports opened back up again, we when I found people who were going, I was send them a little bit of cash here and there, and we kept the partnership going that way some. And then in 2021, trip planning began, and then of course just completed our sister church visit. So as our team, as we go through, as I'm talking through it, if you have input, part of this, want to talk about it, it's wide open. I just sort of had to put something together to get us through tonight, so please know that. The pictures you're seeing are the pictures of the church. The other A-frame churches, the one I started, but the ones going forward are all from the church. So what are we doing in Cuba? Well, we'll tell you, and especially I'm for sure Bobby will tell you this, is that it's not hammers and nails. It's not what's happening, the wonderful work that's happening at the parsonage this week. It's a very different approach than most churches are used to. And so it's an ongoing way of equipping your friends in Cuba and giving them the resources to do what God has called them to do without setting up a dependency or being what they call colonizers, where we tell them what they have to do with it. So the first piece of the puzzle are supplies and providing finances. It really is giving areas of support. You see these, this communion set? It cost me nothing. Except for the, to get it down there. It actually came out of a closed church. And they're amazed when we talk about churches closing because their churches are opening so fast, they don't know what to do with it. And they're like, what do you mean the church closes? But to have some legit sort of communion-wearing goods, which are now there, they don't need that. Right now, is that legitimizes them in some way. So in our most recent trip that we took, when you look at it, the Cuban embargo started in 1958. And so the availability of supplies, especially Christian-based supplies, is limited. Now, we were learned last night that you can buy Bibles in Havana, but yet trying to find Bibles, right? Having bookstores, having cross and flame logos and all that stuff. It really you don't just go find it at the local corner store. You can't go pick it up somewhere. I had a lady ask me for a bilingual Bible one time when we were in Cuba, and I said, my friend, I don't know what you're going to do. They just don't exist here. There's not a Christian book distributor or something like that. The other thing I think you have to keep in mind about this whole interchange and this whole partnership is that in Cuba, the freedom of speech and the freedom of religion is not guaranteed. So at any point in time, and I think our team experienced this in some ways, they can come in and shut the church down for an indefinite period of time if something does not meet the letter of the law. So they're extraordinarily careful about how they manage the relationship, especially with us Americans when we come to be a part of it. So unlike other places, improvement in church building is highly regulated and it's restricted. Marilyn in her class years ago and was talked about this is that, and we sort of talked about it some with Ernesto this time, is that you can't go build a new church. Actually, if the church, you can't just go buy a piece of property and build a church. You might build a house and sneak and have a church in it, but you can't just go build a new church. So if your church existed pre-revolution, then you can continue to remodel the church and you can add on to the church, but you can't go buy new property and create a new church. That's a different world, isn't it, friends, right? Because if we wanted to start a church, what we could do is we could go over here across the way, if we could afford it, buy the property, we have a steeple up tomorrow, no problem. But building new churches is not as easy and as accessible. So a lot of times you'll see people who build house churches, patios, and some weird conglomerate ways of doing things so they can be in ministry. You can make additions to existing buildings, and no one pays attention to the codes, but yet you're supposed to actually get permission to do that, I believe. The Cuba Methodist Church also has done something that makes teams going in, makes it really hard. I love the conversation that held us with Rashawn as we talked about it. She says, what does a tourist card do for you? So what we do is when we go to Cuba, it's interesting how the governments work. The Office of Finance and Assets and Control concerns about the American side. So under I do not know how long this has been the case, but under our law, if you're keeping a full-time schedule of religious activities, you can legally go to Cuba. However, you can't just get on a cruise ship and run down there because that's illegal. You can't just go on a nice vacation down there because that's illegal. But you can go if you're doing humanitarian aid. Our president has just reestablished where there might be people-to-people visits being reestablished, which will make it easier to do some more touristy type things. And then, but for us, we go as representatives of the Methodist Church here, and we keep a full-time schedule. Guys, guys and ladies, how many hours do we spend in church?
A lot.
A week? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and during the week, I mean, we spent probably about
there or here?
down in Cuba.
Oh, yeah, a lot. Every day.
We were in church every single day. We kept a full-time schedule. So when you tell me, hey, I just want to go down there and just go, and do something, you have to be willing to participate in a full-time schedule of religious activities to do it legally under the Office of Finance and Assets Control.
Even in our travels, we stopped at a mission, and we stopped at a seminary. So it's all religious based.
It's all religious based. So yeah, we stopped at a mission, we stopped at a seminary.
Two seminaries.
So we did a lot of visiting. We were on the way to the beach, but we went to a seminary on the way there. And I didn't have any qualms with that because I knew it helped us meet our... But that's really the American government. Now, on the Cuban government side, they don't really care. You can go visit the island, but you can't do things that non-tourists would do. So getting out a shovel and pail and concrete and taking potentially the job away from a local Cuban who might make the money from you and doing the work for them is not seen as a favorable thing. Actually, you could watch Ernesto every time we talked about doing work. He was sort of the spine went up a little bit. Yeah. And he had made up some stuff that we could do, but boy, he sort of didn't want us to do it. He would not say no, but he was definitely not saying yes. And he sort of let some things slide. He was very quick to let us go do whatever we wanted to go visit old Havana. He was never those type of things. But when it came to doing work in hammers and nails, he was really in the kindest way said no.
There's no hammers and nails down there. There's concrete.
No hammers and nails and concrete. Yeah, exactly.
So the two exploratory trips
have come, I believe, full circle to say this for this congregation, and hopefully what will become a partnership long term, is that the need is not for people to go and pour concrete and do that type of work. There are opportunities to do that. That's not what this relationship looks like. And so the true need is helping these people source what they need to do to spread God's good news and the gospel of Jesus Christ in ways that are effective for them. And I'll show you pictures and I'll show you why that's effective here in just a few minutes. So the supplies and finance piece of it is, I think I talked about this. Yeah. So here's some of the things I will show you why. When we went in 2019, if you look on the left, that was the parsonage in 2019. If you look on the top, that's what it looked like on the inside. If you look down there on the bottom, that was the master bedroom where Ernesto and them now reside. They were actually living downstairs in some Sunday school rooms and had the church people in their house pretty much. How many hours a day were church people at the church team?
Nearly all the time.
I mean, we're talking from about 7 o'clock in the morning till about 10, 11 at night. And they had to lock the gates to get people out of there. So, I mean, it's the way it is. It's like going to Disney World at the church. But there's always somebody there at the church doing something, playing guitar. It'd be 7 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden you hear a piano and someone singing. It's just that they're constantly there. The church is a center to their community.
And so we went
in 2019, so I took those pictures, and then I went back, and we had given them money, we'd given them some resources, and then I think they'd worked hard on doing their own type of resourcing, and we went back this time, and that's the parsonage on the left. That is the kitchen area that you see, finished out pretty.
And then
the bedroom looks like this here on the bottom. So you can sort of see that
they don't need someone
to do it for them. They can do it.
They just have to have the resources.
But they just have resources to get the job done.
Yet again,
this was
the end of
the church. When we went there in 2019, it was actually Ernesto's garage. And so he had an old car he'd been working on and doing work on. And then we went back this time, and to our surprise, it was the senior adult Sunday school room. He converted the whole back end of the building into that, and was building it out, and he has a dream. So what I'm telling you, friends, is that with the limited amount of resources that are actually very attainable, they're taking the resources that they have received and they're trying to make the best of the situation. Now, accessing resources is another issue for teams to go who wants to do labor and work, because you can't just run down to the local yokel Home Depot. Remember when we went to Home Depot? Did y'all love the Home Depot? There ain't no Home Depot. There ain't no Home Depot. And so I'll show you their version of Home Depot, but even at that, it's pretty pitiful.
We couldn't even find a tape measure.
Yeah, you couldn't hardly find a tape measure at that time.
So what I'm saying
is, and I'm trying to sort of set the mindset around this, is that the concept, especially here at Couts, of sending a team to do work, they may need a little bit of help, but they don't need. It's not a construction trip. Construction does not work for this dynamic. Forgive this next picture because it's not. I forgot to stick a picture there. So here is their scheduled worship.
On Friday
night, when Marilyn and I don't mess it up for the vow renewal, they have a fogata, and they start church. It was our anniversary on Friday, so we renewed our vows. They had church a little earlier for us, so the mariachi was kicking on. I broke one of my rules, but it was my anniversary, and I felt something in my heart. So Friday night is typically church pops off at 10 o'clock at night. They start church about 10, and it goes to about 11:30. They typically take out all the benches of the church, go outside, and they turn the volume up as loud as they can turn it up. And the whole, anybody in the neighborhood knows they're having church.
That was also a day of mourning when we were there.
And we were there also on a day after that Hotel Saratoga blew up, and it was a national day of mourning, so they could not go outside and do that. We're not allowed to do that. Saturday morning, you do not get served breakfast. And we did sneak and get a little bit of coffee, I believe, that morning. Cafe!
I didn't have any coffee. I fasted.
Yay! Saturday morning, about 10 o'clock, they have a fasting and prayer service every week. This is not just an occasional thing, every week. And then the next piece is on Sunday morning. I think it was at 9 o'clock. Sunday school, and church starts like 10:30, somewhere in that ballpark. Okay. Sunday morning worship happens, and you're not getting out of church until probably at least 1 o'clock with all that's going on. And it is something to behold. You'll see the video of it here in just a moment. And then Wednesday night worship happens between like 6 and 7. It's about an hour long. And then, of course, they have all the ensemble practices. And for our prayer force members who would appreciate this, they have an intercession team. They have ladies that come by the church every single morning and pray in the church every single day, to pray over the pews and pray over the building. And while they're having church, the thing that I was not accustomed to, but it was a very unique way of being in touch with the Spirit, was Ernesto is not in the worship service. He's actually outside the building, walking and praying the whole time, asking the Holy Spirit to come. It's an amazing thing, a move of the Spirit. And so the cool thing about their building is that there's little bricks and there's holes, so you can see inside. You can see what's going on. There's open air windows, so you're not going to miss anything. They're constantly before. It's very much like an Emmaus walk for those of you who've done the Amazing Experience, is that they're constantly praying over the service and constantly bathing this, everything they're doing in prayer, and it's an amazing thing to see. So I'm going to share with you here some videos of some of the different things to do. One of the things you see, and they like to do this on Sunday mornings, is that every Sunday school class comes in and does a report and reads their memory verse usually.
Al frente.
So this is their youth class. And it's grown a lot over the past couple of years. Before church starts, before all this kicks off, typically there's someone, though, that is always there starting this. This is them inviting the Holy Spirit to come. And you have someone who's always calling the Holy Spirit to come and to be, and so they're walking the aisles asking verbally, Holy Spirit, come and bless us, Jesus.
Ayúdanos, Padre Santo. Ayúdanos a cumplir cada recuerdo de nosotros, de sus amados, a los cuales nos encontramos, Señor. Ven a Espíritu, mente espiritual, corazón delante de ti, Señor, para que se.
And then you have another class giving their report. One of the most beautiful things, Marilyn pointed this out to me, is that in Cuban culture, the fine arts are very well appreciated. Compared to some other cultures, this one is highly elevated in their culture, so it reflects itself in the church. And so there's a couple of extra teams. They have a drama team. They have a couple of drama teams, and they have a timbrel team that plays little timbrels and dances around. And so it's just a beautiful thing to see. The Spirit's really real. And what you see, there's nothing pretentious. They do this week to week, and it's part of what they do. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. They know what worship. They've got worship down. I think it's what BJ caught on to when we were there, is that the Spirit's so alive in the building. The thing is that the folks that do this, they understand that also these small groups bind them together. So what happens is this group is not just showing up Sunday morning. They're practicing midweek as if they were, our choir group, right? And so you have so many of these little groups doing their little bits and pieces that they're actually a small group themselves, and it's built this church to be very strong together in their work.
Hoy siempre te amamos, milagroso, abres camino, luces promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, abres camino, luces promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Aquí estás, sanando mi corazón.
Sound familiar? Things do get translated a lot in worship together. The other thing that they've done most recently is that they've added, one of the things they've added this guitar group did not exist in 2019. It's something new. So, as we think about these things, and is there anyone from the team wants to share how, and I'll tell you here and talk to this microphone, so anybody who wants to share from our team how worshiping in that context touched you?
Or any questions
about how that looks like for you who are here tonight?
We were very fortunate we had a translator this time, and you see just so much talent. The other thing that Ernesto does is Ernesto's a little short little dude, but he's a fireball preaching.
Altura es más poderoso que el estruendo de muchas aguas. Las muchas aguas han traído un número indefinido de muertos. Pero dice que cuando Dios está en las alturas, hay un estruendo y hay noticias más asombrosas que la de los muertos por agua. Pero si Jehová está en las alturas, las noticias no estén muertos. Los números de salvados parecen más de ser eternidad. Pero Dios tiene que estar en las alturas.
To say he's a small, he don't say a whole lot. When he gets to preaching, he turns it on. This is who he is. This sort of shots back at the church.
What you miss is that there's actually people dancing on the boards. So it's an interesting thing to see. Our driver likes to do that.
The next thing basically, they had clowns
the whole bit and everything, and by the time we waited, it would be 5 minutes to that.
But there
are also other people who learn how to dance on our trip. Facebook Live. One of the most beautiful parts of worship those days, Sunday, Ernesto was done with the sermon. He was done with actually the invitation. He was moving on, and then 3 people hopped up and said, "We want to profess our faith." And he'd already moved beyond the invitation. And so these three that presented themselves for profession of faith the morning that we were there.
I
watched this enough on YouTube from our driver that goes there. This is not contrived, put together for the Americans. Okay, this is what they do week to week. So it's very authentic to who they are.
So any other
words from our team about how worship impacted you? Does that give a good review of the worship experience? BJ?
Check.
Get to the middle, though. Get to the middle.
What I saw from these people, of course, they're all happy. I've never seen so much joy out of having so little. But the spirit, it's like, and I've been on a walk to Emmaus. I've worked one. To me, it didn't hold a candle to the spirit that was in this place. I don't know if all the churches are like that, but this one definitely is on fire. And everybody participates in some way, some fashion. And that's what I said in my statement. I'd like to bring some of that back to this church. Since we can't catch on fire. Just like what you saw, they get up and dance, and they have a good time. I challenged Bobby to get up. To go up to front and dance, but he wouldn't go with me.
I did dance.
You did that, but anyway, maybe one of these days we'll manage to face our church and do that. But anyway, I was very, very moved by their attitude and their spirit. It was fantastic. It took me about 4 days to sort of start coming off of it a little bit. And I still think about it daily about just the joy. I just couldn't get over the joy. But so that's to me what I got. I mean, it moved me to no end. And I hope we can continue that push to help these folks. There's a lot of things they can't get. That's for sure. And they just very much appreciate what we did. So, but anyway.
Jay, for sharing
that.
But one of the things I will say that one of our missionaries did do is how that we can serve in context. And so there are ways you can serve in context
that are actually will work for you. If you're able to speak to this as we're going through it, please step up. Thank you, for that.
One of the ways is,
of course, is
delivering goods and supplies.
I want to give this team props. They went and weighed these bags, make sure we could shove all we could. And even when we got to Austin, we went back to Walmart and shoved more in the bags. And I tell you what, I've been around some teams over the years that would have had my goose and had we done all the way we did, and this team was like, we get it, they hadn't even been there yet.
And the other thing that they did,
praise be to God,
was that they were patient. Because this for the
first time I got caught,
and also
some of our teamers got stopped at customs.
We all got stopped.
We all got stopped.
This is
the lost sheep bag.
So
I call it the lost sheep bag. And let me just quickly try to say what happened, why this bag was important.
My friend
Meg, who seemed to be the pastor at Grace Meadow, she says, I pray that God will give you divine appointments.
And I said, okay. I don't know where that's going to happen.
But I wish it had happened the way that God made it happen, to be honest with you.
Through a series of events, what happened was that we got on the plane from Florida to Havana. We had 12 bags coming to Florida. We had 11 bags going to Havana. And I said, one of our sheep is going to be lost forever. We'll never, ever see it again in that hot mess of a baggage claim. And trust me, team, was it a hot mess of a baggage claim? Very much so.
Very much so.
And one of the baggage
cells had broken and all this stuff. And
this
team, they were champs. They stayed with it, and we found all 11 bags.
And so hold on, we get 11 bags.
11 bags.
Calm down, Bobby. Calm down.
I at that point said, you know what? We're calling it.
We're calling it.
I'm just going to
mark that one bag off.
You have no cell phone.
No cell phone.
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi.
We're trapped.
Sort of in the baggage claim.
We can't get out past customs.
They do customs
after the baggage claim.
And so I said,
we'll just
give up on it.
I walk over to the lost baggage window, and there's a woman there from England, and she eventually tells me that she's an atheist,
and that she
does not believe in God, but she has been watching Christians in her community,
and for that
I began to get to witness to her in that moment, and I went, Lord, I know what you're doing, I don't like your sense of humor.
And in that moment,
oh, look over. You got to think this is Cuba. This is not America.
And it would be even hard to find the DFW.
There's a thing that says, have you lost your bag?
The airline we
flew.
Here's
a phone number.
And I'd snap that picture
as quick as I could. I said, I'm curious what's going to happen.
I walk
outside.
Get Ernesto. I abandoned Rashana and her passport.
Yes, I did that. I was so driven to get that projector out past the customs agent.
I didn't understand
what had happened there.
Our poor teams
got caught up in doing this. I never have got the full.
Lost in translation.
Lots of
lost in translation.
Yeah.
I walk,
and I come to find out the bag had been tagged to Julie's name.
I call
this number, and actually someone answers the phone.
And the guy says
to me, "Are you Mr. Bishop?"
And I said, in English. And I was like,
what in the world
is this all about? And sure enough,
all those hundreds of bags on that flight, our bag was the only one that was bumped to the next flight.
And he says, it's
downstairs.
I see it's been there.
I'll come and get you.
And come to find out he was a Catholic, he was non-practicing, was looking for a church, and he lived near one of the largest Methodist churches, one of the most effective churches on the island. And we had this long conversation with Francisco about his. He did get mad at
me when I tried to tip him. He didn't think he did it out of the goodness of his heart. I think he felt a connection there, but I felt the need to do that. Julie waited with me for this bag to show up. But come to find out, it was a bag that had about $1,000 worth of medicine in it that had come through.
It was prescription
meds. We almost lost them. And God brought those three for us at the last minute.
The thing was,
we didn't have to take them. The Cubans took them.
We didn't have to take them through customs. The Cubans did, and they all came out on the other side. What I'm telling you, all friends, is that I left that situation in my soul. I knew God had a reason for that all to come to pass. I don't know what it is.
But I knew I was a part of a journey for somebody. I walked through that and say, this is just one of those times when you go, okay, Lord, you got this. I don't like how you're doing it, but I want to be part of your thing, right? So the next piece of the puzzle is why are these supplies so important? Our team has not seen these pictures yet because they've been coming to me all week long. They've been pinging me left and right. As soon as we left, I started getting photos left and right, and I haven't been able to catch up with photos for this meeting, much less the new photos that's been coming in. So some of the things that we left, Mel and I had been at CVS collecting makeup and nail polish and all these things for the better part of 2 years. And so they immediately had a ladies retreat for the senior adult ladies and brought them out. And what they did for them was they cut their hair and they brought, and I'll show more pictures, they did the nails and did the mani-pedi for the ladies and took care of their senior adults, and they loved their senior adults in this church. They call them the tercera edad, the third age. Tercera edad, the third age. And so primero, segundo, tercera edad. The other thing is that's the medical commission. They came out and sorted out the medicine that we'd left. The doctor came out, the nurses came out to be part of that. And then the things that you gave, you remember the old Noche Buena bags we gave on Christmas Eve here? Well, they started making their way out. So as soon as we left, the supplies started moving out, and they started utilizing what we'd given them. So you began to see those little bags that you all filled up when you were here. Some of you did a couple of them. Those bags started going out into the community, reaching people. On the bottom right-hand side, I have that picture. They were so excited because we brought drink mix. They had a birthday party on Sunday morning, so we got to have a real party for our senior adult class. It was such a good thing. We had drink mix. And we could offer snacks and refreshments. It was such a good thing because we had drink mix. We gave them Kool-Aid, y'all. I mean, that's what it was. It was Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is the best thing since sliced bread. Here's some of the pictures of those bags that you all helped fund.
That's just because it wasn't long enough.
We like the mango juice. These were the bags that you all gave. They didn't do what we wanted to with them. They were going out. We equipped our partners to do what they felt called to do with the stuff. That's not our position to tell them what to do. Here was our idea. Take it or leave it. And they're using it and sending pictures and showing us what they've done with it. I did not ask for pictures. They understand it's part of the equation. They're using them for their faithful people and some of their senior adults are getting some bags so they can carry stuff. These people walk a whole lot. So have a little backpack, string purses.
And we were intentional to get bags with reflectors, which I think the team can appreciate how important.
And we got bags with reflectors because people were walking, so when you're walking at night.
And Rodeon is driving the road.
Yeah, Rodeon's driving. But they had broken them out. Remember how you all had underwear and notebook and stuff? So Monty sent me a picture of how they've broken out the stuff and they put those in all the children's bags. So the intent was to still live out in that situation. So I'm telling you, friends, it didn't take but what? 24 to 48 hours after we left, these pictures start rolling in. And so they love what they get from us, and they let them do the ministry. And the cool thing is, the pastor and the church gets credit for it. We, as the Americans, don't. And that's a good thing for them because they're there doing ministry and we're not. It's a good way of doing it. Great dynamic. Serving context also has Bobby and AJ in the bathroom together for a reason.
That's a good reason.
Don't ask.
They will let us do some minor repairs inside if no one's looking. And so they fixed the light switch in the bathroom without shocking myself to death. Julie is our toilet model. But toilet seats for the ladies. The toilet seat's not a part of what they normally have. That's Ernesto checking out the toilet seat and then fixing the lines there. Another permissible way that we can serve in context was the children's event that she helped fund and make happen. If Roshana wants to speak about this and her experience of it, you're welcome to. What was beautiful was to see the pastor's wife, her name's Madeline, basically. She goes by Made. And it's her nickname. To see how she writes curriculum for all the vacation Bible schools on the island, and she is the person who loves children's ministry. And to see this woman, she was like you watch us. You ever seen somebody living into the hall and their light switch is on? Buddy, she was right there in her groove. She was in her lane. She was running it, and she had the materials to do it. And she was excited about seeing what would happen. And so she said, "Can you all do this? Can you do this? Can you do this?" And we said, "Yes." And she she had some extra helpers, and they had it put together. They knew what to do. They stayed up till I think 4 o'clock in the morning getting ready for this event. They stayed up all night long, and they had a dream in the middle of the night. They got up in the middle of the night and worked on it. It was just something. It was just really. They were so excited to do this work. And so what they were able to do is that they were able to put on this children's event, and by putting on back picture, they had ladies in clown suits. They built this. This is made from construction paper and stuff that you all sent. Boxes they had found. Glue gun there that Bobby is working with. And buddy, I tell you what, they are just having the time of their life. So we found some in our house, we found some old magnets, and we laid them in our garden, took them down there, and they made fishing poles for fishing. They had 30 seconds to catch a fish. My favorite game for the whole entire week was coming. We're going to throw it. It's called Clean Up the Courtyard. So the government trash cans, the kids came out with the most trash in the trash can won. It was great. It was the smartest idea I've ever seen. First idea. Time of their life out there. So
there was 93 kids doing that.
93 children in the church. The number we had in the church the next morning way up. Enough to where Ernesto says, hey, we had 93 kids this week. You better watch out what God can do here. He really was alive in him. He don't say a lot when it comes to that type of stuff. Another thing that came along because we're giving and you're willing to do is that they treat their senior adults with such care and love. Bobby and BJ jumped in and became the opticians of the group, and so the optometrists of the group, and sort of buddy, they got after it and got it done. And so we offered a reading glasses clinic and let them choose the glasses that they wanted to have. We thought that with the medicine that we had. And so Bobby and BJ organized all the glasses into the different powers, had them come out and read. And this is one of the gentlemen that had glasses, and I think you all talked about that a lot, Bobby did. You saw one of the guys throughout the course of the week that was had his glasses on every time you saw him. They don't have access to. They have access. A lot of them have prescriptions, but they didn't have the glasses. So that was an issue.
One of the ladies that read the Bible, I think it was a couple of services later,
Wednesday night.
had those glasses on.
One laser in the Bible.
Read the Bible.
So they use it to read the Bible, do those things. It's something simple. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it goes a long way. Serving food is permissible. And so one of the things that they built is this little feeding kitchen. You'll see Clean Cooks about it, some conversation about it in a few minutes. The dish of the day was pork, boniato, which is a sweet potato, and corned brie, which you ate tonight. So it's the reason why we served what we served tonight. And so that's what we served at the church celebration meal. They had to go way out of town to get the pig this time. There wasn't pigs available. And so they had to drive about 40 miles to go get the pig. But they were happy. I think some people got pork for the first time in 2 years. Had not eaten pork in 2 years. And so our team graciously took the opportunity. And poor Made, the pastor's wife, she was just so worried. Oh, is it going to be too much for you Americans to serve these people? I said, these people can get it done. Don't worry. She was just freaking out. Oh, you're so tired. Maybe you need to take a rest. No, it was great. So Julie enjoyed showing that, being a part of that. And so we have the pictures of this, smiles and opportunities. And once again, it wasn't like, it was just a chance to serve. We didn't make a big deal about it. This time was different. They actually had upgraded and brought some plastic plates with COVID, I believe. They didn't bring their own plates in. The other thing we do while we're in Cuba is we provide the pastoral family and also the church and ourselves some personal experiences in pastoral care. One of the fun things that we get to do is be a part of the celebration meal that I sort of established. And Ernesto was quick to ask that because that raises attendance up that Sunday a lot, and their people get fed, and it's a good experience. And they love to have a chance to have a meal. And so
a new knife right there.
And a new knife. I went in 2019 and had a piece of metal that had ground on, I don't know what it was. Horrible. And so the knives were a hit. They love the new knives.
He actually slashed himself.
Yeah. That cook didn't know how to use a sharp knife, right? And so this is everybody eating food, and so you help provide them a meal. When we do go out, we eat at restaurants. We get to try things, and it's interesting to eat at a Cuban restaurant because of the local economy. You can eat really good, sort of really cheap for us. It's really expensive for them, but it's really cheap for us. It's one place you can get a really good bargain. And so we ate well, and we went out, and we found some things that were interesting when we ate. Lobster was pretty cheap most places. I think lobster here would be the equivalent of about $5 for lobster tail. And so we got lobster tail. I was okay with that. That happened. I ordered a sandwich because of the cheaper items on the menu. And that thing on the left showed up was a cheaper sandwich.
As long as you're armed.
I was like, heaven's gates, how big is that?
And I ate the whole thing.
I ate the whole thing. On the bottom was a local dish, all green looking because Port River Shauna and Maryland had these green spotlights shining on your face the whole meal. And yet again, lobster. One of the coolest things that we did was Melissa was getting married, and so she took us to a very upscale. And I will tell you, our missioners tonight who've taken their Coca-Cola for granted, most likely were like, you should watch them go after Coca-Cola when they hadn't had it for 3 days. And so, yes, they were pouring the Cokes, and we actually found Cokes that night. And it was a cool thing because a lot of things, I love the picture of Rodion and Milady because the men actually get to go and take their wives out somewhere nice. They may get to do that once or I think it's maybe 3 or 4 times in their lifetime. So you're providing them a great opportunity to be, they don't get to go out to eat a lot and do things like that. So it's a chance for them to get away. Ernesto's down here having a good time talking to his family, and it's a chance for us to converse and be together. Does it cost money? Yes. Was it expensive? Yes. But on the terms of our terms, it cost us $170 to feed
16 that night.
I think it's 16 people.
16
people. And so you think about $10 a head for one of the nicest restaurants in the restaurant.
Seagull bargain. Some of us had shrimp. It wasn't like we were eating.
And if there's any picture I had that showed how much eating together can be fun, it was this one. Bobby and Rodion just having a great time together, right? And you can see it was a chance to relax from going what you've been through on the day. Our church, our partners. I had that one. I have that one, but I didn't put it in. We've ate like kings. Most people at the church only eat once or twice a day, most. Use a light breakfast and a dinner is what they get, if anything. One of the life-saving things that I will say one of our friends here tonight, I'll leave them unnameless, has made a huge impact in their life is when they bought and sponsored these live straw bags. The live straw bags ensures that the food and stuff that we get, all the water is filtered through a filter that has, so all the creepy crawlies and stuff is not in it for us. And you stay away from Montezuma's Revenge. So we eat at the church a lot because they know how to, Ernesto's taught them how to prepare the food. So we can eat anything, and we know if it's been made at the church, no worries. So we had things like tomatoes. That is what I call variations on the theme. It's boniato and rice. We had boniato one night. You have boniato and rice, and you have spaghetti. Is it onions? I'm sorry. Okay. You have these, it's lots of what I call variations on a theme. We had some of the best flan you could have. Bobby is now a fan of guava paste and cheese, not. A new thing has happened. It was. You could tell that they were going all out for us because they had beef. 2 years ago, if they just changed the law, if you ate beef, you could go to jail for eating beef because you were not allowed to kill the cows, and it was only reserved for tourists. And so it was a big thing. They had Ropa Vieja twice because they had money to buy it, and they went after it if they could. And of course, Bobby's favorite was the mangoes during the course of the week, and so that's one of the things. One of the things that we do is we always visit, I try to get to visit the seminary when we can. The seminary is located in the center of Havana. There is a Methodist seminary in Havana. To go to seminary here, you have to have establish a church, and the church has to have a certain number of members. I think it's about 30 or 40 members have to be going to the church, give or take. I'm not sure the exact number. And if your membership of the church starts declining, they pull you out of the program. So you have to keep your local church. You have to have a local church, and you have to be a pastor while going to seminary. One of the things that we do is that the librarian, we take them books because seminary books are not available. And so I had a friend who's a professor take that. And would you know that Ernesto is in their master's program, and of course Made is a professor at the seminary. She teaches Hebrew, and so that's the reason why they're appointed there. We have fun. I have to confess that we have convertible cars. It's part of the Cuban experience. Spend a little bit of money, have a good time, go out and experience the cars. And sure as Joe Motley could tell me which cars these are, the Cadillacs that we were in initially, and it was the first time that Ari, our translator, had ever been in a convertible car like that and run around. And he's basically from Cuba. So it was fun for him to be a part of that. He really enjoyed that. It gives you a chance to see town and go to see the Jesus statue and have all the fun. If you want to spend some time because you're bored and you want to watch something that just takes an extraordinarily long period of time for a little bit of an outcome, the Cañonazo is a part of what we do, and something that was just it's interesting is how the economy's changed. It's the one place that showed how much the economy has changed. When we went in 2019, I had the records. It was $8 a person to get in. Now, combined, it cost us $2. It was something. The economy's really shifted a lot. Maybe like $1.50. Yeah, like $1.80 per person. It was just some really ridiculously cheap. But I'll give you the preview here of the fun of it all. This is after about an hour waiting. And the Carver's closed for the evening. Thank you.
Is anybody get a video of it without jumping? Anybody get a video without jumping? I was so intent. I thought I was going to get this, and then it was like all over the place.
The pastor, the build-up is something else.
You should have put the video where they were like.
I know. I'm still working for time. I know. We did go to the beach, and I confess that it's good for our soul to go to the beach. I think our friends enjoyed it. Bobby was like a fish in water most of the time. I got another picture of you and Rodion again here. This is at Varadero Beach. It's one of the biggest tourist beaches. We went to a different beach this time because the beach I had planned to go on that was closer was full at capacity. This place cost us nothing. We just walked out on the beach and sat under some places and hung out for the day. And you can see, I love the picture of Ernesto and Made at the top and Bobby and his baby at the bottom. But that's another story. I love the smiles in these pictures. And then I love the fact that you have Ernesto who's constantly having someone beckoning at his door, constantly asking him to do something, actually relaxing and hanging out on the beach for a couple hours. He worked really hard to get us there. That trip was a really nice day of just relaxing and seeing the countryside. This is about 3.5 to 4 hours west of Havana, and so that's our group having a good time there in east. I'm sorry. Yes. No, it's west. No, east. Okay. It wouldn't be It wouldn't be a trip if you didn't have some shopping and having some fun. So we did some of those type of things. Not a lot of shopping, but one of the places that we did go shopping that I would like Bobby to, if you would say a word or two about it. What was your opinion about the hardware store compared to a local hardware store here?
Didn't have anything.
Didn't have anything, pretty much. So the hardware store had, actually this was an upgrade from 2019, but you had to buy everything in American dollars. So if you had no one sending you remittances from the United States, you were out of the economy here. You couldn't participate, and so it was really weird. We couldn't even buy things. It's a really interesting thing to see, and the quality of the products, which is an ongoing concern, is really not the same quality you find here in the United States. Even though it looks the same, people like Bobby can discern and tell you, hey, that's not the same stuff you get here in the United States. Their grocery store visit, something we always try to do, and in doing the grocery store visit, one of the things I like to see, they always do this, and it's sort of, I guess, a habit now, but you see all those shelves? That's just ketchup. There's a whole row of ketchup. Not that there's not a run on ketchup. There's 3 rows of ketchup. It's not that there's a run on ketchup. It's just that they don't have nothing else to fill the shelf, so what they do have, they'll fill the whole shelf with it and leave it out there. There was a run on sodas, though. Ernesto was whipping out his little MLC card going after that, and he missed the line. He was sort of upset. But he got the last 2 jars of mayonnaise, buddy, and he was a happy camper. An ongoing issue we run into, they always ask us to bring napkins. They don't have napkins. Napkins are not commonplace. There's not really a lot of candy. I mean, you're talking about, and this is what they say is the nicest grocery store that they know of. This is the top shelf across the street from the Diplomat top grocery store. And so that's what it's got. The picture on the bottom right of this is a mistake. I didn't fill that one in. Whole rows of stuff. And then, of course, we did go to Old Havana sort of late in the afternoon and did a little bit of touristy shopping. But I will say there was some unexpected blessings on our trip. And I think maybe for Sean, I'd want to talk about that a little bit if you want to, since I've been talking for a long time. We're plugging right along. We're on this home stretch for y'all. I know that this is a long presentation, but we're on our home stretch.
Talk about our mama now.
That's my grandma.
Come over here.
Yeah. So going into this trip, they pretty much prepared us for the worst. They said, you're not going to have phone service, you're not going to have Wi-Fi, you're not going to have air conditioning, you're not going to have clean water to drink. Just be prepared ahead of time. So that's what I was prepared for. And then I get there, and this is Amparo. And Bobby and I got to stay at her house, and she is amazing. She's so sweet, so kind. And she actually had air conditioning in our rooms for us. She does not use air conditioning in her house, at her part of the house, but in her little guest rooms, she does have air conditioning, and she keeps them on 18 Celsius, which is 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. I found out once I got home. Mine was on 18. Mine was on 18 the whole time. So while we were there, like Clint said, she did prepare breakfast for us every morning. The whole team came to her house, and we ate breakfast on our back porch, which is beautiful. I would love to have a back porch area like this, outdoor kitchen. And every day she would come in and give us clean towels and make our beds, and I made mine a few times. And we also, going into it, were kind of, since we were trying to use all the big suitcases to take all the supplies, we were trying to pack light and carry-ons, and so we had just taken a few sets of clothes and some bar laundry detergent so we could wash our own clothes and rewear them halfway through the week. So actually, the pastoral family, a few days into it, asked for our dirty laundry. They had a washing machine, and Potter also had a washing machine, but I didn't ask to use it. But so I did wash a few things, and then I sent some stuff to the pastoral family because they have a washing machine. They were going to wash some of our stuff. And then I came back, and the things that I hadn't taken for them to wash, Amparo had washed for me and hung up all over my room for me. And she didn't do that for Bobby. But I was definitely the favorite. But she was amazing. She did speak some English, so that was helpful. She actually has some friends in Waco, so she's kind of been to this generic area and was kind of familiar. And one of the mornings we were waiting for our ride, we had a little extra time, and we kind of got to get on a more personal level with her, and she started sharing with us some very personal things about herself and her life. One thing she did make sure we knew the first day is that she is also a Christian. She does, I believe, go to a Baptist church there.
Yes.
But
and she only rents to Christians.
yes, she will only rent to Christians. So we start talking, and I had noticed her scooter. She has a little scooter, little three-wheel scooter that she keeps covered up in this little caged area. And I had mentioned, oh, I saw your scooter. That's so cute. You know, you ride your scooter? And she was saying, yeah, because it's hard for her to walk. And in the meantime, she's pulling up her pants leg, and Bobby's thinking, oh, she's fallen. She's gotten scars from the scooter. Well, then she takes her shoe off, and she only has half a foot. And she was born with some deformities. And she only had 3 toes on that foot, no ankles. The bone was shorter, so her leg was shorter. She actually had corrective shoes on, which we had never even noticed at that point. And she just really opened up to us about some of the trials and tribulations she had been through as a child and the surgeries. Obviously, medical attention is not near as available or near as high-tech as it is here. So she'd been through a lot, and it was just really humbling to see all that she had been through, and then she was still just so kind, and just, she had worked hard. She has a PhD. She worked in dentistry, I believe. I believe that she still is working out of her home some. She would have maybe some clients coming in and out throughout the day, which is, I think, why she had Wi-Fi. She did tell us one day, we do have Wi-Fi if you want to contact your family, and so we were able to do that periodically.
The antenna went up.
Yeah. And we did have hot water sometimes if she turned the pumps on for us. But we didn't expect to have hot water, so that was exciting. We had water pressure, which was exciting because that's one thing we were told you probably won't have. But yeah, she was absolutely turned this trip around for me. I mean, especially after my issues with immigration and customs and 3 hours at the airport trying to get a bag through with a projector mount and some microphones, and Clint having my passport and being the only translator, and it was, to get there was just a relief. Like, okay, maybe I can do this, because there was definitely a time when they were searching that bag that I was thinking, how can I get back home? Like, what plane could I get on and go back home? I'm done. I'm over this. I can't do it. And so it was definitely, we were definitely put there for a reason. I mean, it was absolutely a very humbling experience. And I'm going back, and I've already told Amparo, be ready, because I'm coming back and I'm staying with you. So we've already been in touch since we left. She checked on us all the way home, and she wanted the pictures of Bobby and I with her, and some other pictures that we had taken throughout the week. So she definitely was a blessing, a huge blessing to us.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Shauna. I think those are the unexpected things that you run into when you go this, is that God sometimes shows up through people, and it's not always the mission that's part of it, it's the side thing that comes. The other thing that we always could give thanks for in an experience that we is that we could say is that there's always time for cafe. Ask Bobby Curry. I want to talk about moving forward, and I want to try to do this in a timely fashion as possible. Ernesto laid out for us some things that what their hopes and dreams are for their church, and so I want to try to do that in the most timely fashion I can. Marilyn, if you look on my laptop, there's a Adobe Acrobat is open, and I may need to get you to pull that up here in just a minute. Parsonage completion is number one. So church, thank you. Thank you for what you did, because the money that you gave and the money that you willingly sacrificed of. I do not have the exact total of all the money that was used for this trip, but I do know that the day that I left, we had $12,500 in the bank left over from all the other expenses like the airfare and stuff that our team members had paid for. So I knew that we had a good balance to go with. Over the course of the week, and Rashana, can you confirm these numbers? Because I see you're going through our stuff to make sure I'm right. At the end of the week, we talked about it. Ernesto, we asked him, I don't know how many times, what's your number one project? What's your number one project? And unequivocally, it was completing the parsonage. And there was nothing about it that was selfish in his approach to it. Ernesto's planning on retiring possibly in the next 5 to 6 years, and I think he's just being a pastor myself, he sees if that parsonage is complete and it's a good parsonage, whatever pastor the bishop will assign, the nicer the parsonage is, the better chance for them to get a good pastor. Very much what you're doing for our pastoral family, and we thank you for that over the parsonage this week. By having a nice fence, it makes it nicer for the preacher, and the preacher's going to be happier about being there. With that in mind, he had quoted a number, and I want to make sure I have the numbers right, Bobby, if I can get this in my head. He said $9,000 was what he needed to get the job done. We looked at the money that we had left over. We had $7,000 left over. Our team, out of their own pockets, I think chipped in $500. $500. What now?
We had $6,500, and then the team chipped in.
The rest? Is it how it worked? Okay.
Yes.
So I want to make sure I get that right.
$6,500 came from the church.
So you gave $6,500 to a $7,000, $9,000 project. Our team members out of their own pocket left 500, left an extra 500. So what the church did is that they got him pretty much almost to the promised land. So he was, and when we whipped out $7,000 and laid it on the table, you should watch that little fellow run for a Walmart bag as fast as he could do to hide it, because he knew that. You got to think about it. In Cuba, that's the average salary for 20 years, and so you got to think about what that looks like. If you're not getting, most Cubans make between $300 to $500 a year, and so that was a big deal. And so he wanted to make sure that money wasn't laying around anywhere. And so it's going to take him a while, but I anticipate sooner than later, pictures will start coming through about what this is. This was a leap of faith. He'd shown we'd made baby steps before, so we're lifting with it quite a bit this time. And in the grand scheme of things, Bobby, how much does it cost to fix a fence at the parsonage, more or less? Yeah, the whole place, he needed $9,000 to finish the whole place out. We're spending almost half that just on the fence at the parsonage right now. So in the grand scheme of things, that's a drop in the bucket for construction costs. That's also going to employ local folks to get the job done. They do not need us to go down there and send a team to go do it for them. He's proven he can get the job done. So that's project number one. I'm a little out of order in my project priorities here. So I'm going to skip this one and go to this one. I sensed something that I hadn't sensed before, but also Ernesto's mother goes to the church, and that probably plays into some of this too. His mama goes to church, and she's in the senior adult group, but their senior adult classroom. And can you pull up the PowerPoint, the number? I was trying to remember. I was looking at what he said it was, and what I want to show the breakdown too. That's kitchen at the top. It's in the middle, babe. The breakdown that he gave me, he says it rains on their heads a lot. They get wet. They need to have an enclosed room. It was his garage before. And so that's what it looks like there on the end of the building. That's what it looks like there. And then he gave an overhead view of it to show how the rain can seep down through the cracks. And so the amount that he gave for the whole project, and Bobby was right at $3,900. And what did you all come to? Do you remember? I was trying to remember the footage. I don't more, give or take, that was in the ballpark.
That'll take care of it.
So he was thinking basically $3,900 could finish that whole part out and get their senior adults in a classroom that we know they're not asking for air conditioning and stuff. That room's going to be used, periodically throughout the course of the week.
They don't want air conditioning.
And they really don't. And they really don't want air conditioning because the air conditioner will break. If the air conditioner breaks, they can't get parts for it, so they didn't want that. So right at $3,900 for that particular project. And if you scroll back up, he talks about the ins and outs of that. If anybody wanted to see more details, I could show that to you. The next project that he had in play is this idea, and I want to use his words, so can you use that? I translated, and he says, I did sort of add a little flourish to this, but make it sound better in English. Our church has been growing in recent years, thus increasing the number of elderly and children attending our 4 services throughout the course of the week. In Cuba, food shortages are commonplace. Also, unlike in the United States, people walk to church and virtually no one has a personal car. Sometimes people walk a number of kilometers, even in the rain, to get to church. As God's community, there's something very special about the time spent eating together as God's family. We know we must meet the hunger of those who come so they can pay attention to the gospel message we offer. Given the situation of extreme food shortages that the country is experiencing and the distance that people have to travel each to reach the church has been offering snacks every Sunday to these vulnerable people. For this reason, a place was prepared as a kitchen for the preparation of these foods, but it still doesn't have a way that we believe is hospitable and accommodating for those we serve. It also, by the way, doubles as a Sunday school room. That's his other view for it. It's another place to have church. It's our fervent desire to put a roof over the dining room so that the elderly and children can eat their meals comfortably. We also need to finish out the kitchen to improve hygiene and food preparation. Finally, considering food is a major commodity and is often stolen, we need to add a fence to protect us from having food and supplies stolen. We believe with the completion of these facilities would no longer be limited to serving the elderly and children, but extending the table fellowship to everyone in our congregation. We see this also as a way of reaching people as like Jesus did when he shared meals with his disciples and sinners like Zacchaeus, whose lives were transformed by time spent around the table. Thank you for your consideration. And so he'd given us that as his sort of, and that's some of me mixed in there. I'll confess that. But that's what it sort of looks like from the street, and that's a picture of the feeding kitchen. And to finish it out, survey says here at the bottom, when she gets past the pictures, their estimated cost was $1,500 for that project to finish it out. So we're getting very close to meeting completing the needs. Now, as you say, well, how does the money get down there? President Biden has opened up the door potentially for remittances to be sent now, to where we can send them direct to Ernesto. Of course, and there's always people traveling back and forth that I know who can stick it in their pocket and hand deliver it to, or your pastor here would be probably jump at the chance to go back again and be a part of that myself. The final thing is going back to this one is the final area of dreaming that we got to be a part of. There's 2 places. Their music system is about 20 years old. He's really worried about it going out on him. And the speakers have blown, and those things are really on the fritz. And now he's got 4 or 5 different. He's got the 2 dance groups at least that use the speakers, and he's got also 4 other groups that use the speaker system. They were ecstatic about the microphones you provided them. They were happy. They actually said, we got new cables. They thought they'd really arrived. And so, but he's wanted to replace the music system. Me and Bobby inspected the speakers, and they're just, it's in bad shape. All I can say is it's beyond that. And I don't have an estimate for that just yet. The final project, just to sort of let you know what's coming, is Osmai is pointing to what one of his dreams is that's where he wants his new church. He's a missionary from the church. He's their lay leader at the church. And so he and his family have started a mission church, and talk about this posh, nice, comfortable place they've got there, and a mosquito There's mosquitoes in the backyard, no chairs, that type of stuff. Out with the goats. Currently, they have really nowhere to sit, but they still are having worship in the backyard and worshiping the Lord with all their heart. And so they gather every Wednesday night to have the mission church worship. And Osmai is getting ready to go to seminary once he can grow the church to a certain point. This was the picture of the chair that they had and what it sort of looked like. And so Osmai had told us, we met with him briefly, and he said to us that it would take $1,000 to get the basically a roof, like a little shed built, but we believe like a carport. They can build a carport, and the government will get after them. And so and he could move it to the landowner. I mean, he might lose the concrete, but concrete's not expensive. It's the metal that's expensive. We believe between $1,000 to $2,000 to take care of that. The final thing is, and I'm going to mention this because I felt led to do so, is this was a side thing. One of those extra unexpected blessings was Ari. Ari's moving to was our translator during the course of the week. He will be going to Guyana in a few weeks, and he's actually becoming an American, working on his citizenship. And so Ari is going to be coming to Virginia to live and be a pastor of Pawnee Ridge and Evergreen United Methodist Churches. And he is needing some assistance just to get himself possibly from Guyana, where he has to go to his visa interview to the United States to get to his job at some point. Just some things that might touch hearts. The other thing that BJ mentioned to me, he wanted me to show you all, is that also there probably needs to be a new meter box upgraded. I don't know what the first thing about meter boxes, other than BJ knows how to steal from them, and he's your man if you want to steal some electricity. He's seen it all. But when BJ says, "I'm worried about their transformer box," it sounded like there was something that was pretty significant. So I wanted to say that to you also. The filtration. I'm sorry, I know that had that. I was running. Can you pull up there? I didn't pull that in one email. Let me just give it. Can I give the quick version of it? There's also an opportunity to give to a water filtration system for the church that would not be just for the church, but also the community. And there's a lot of people. That's a growing area. And we talked to Dan Christofferson last night, and he said for water filtration and the necessary pumps, he said it would probably take about a year or more to get the system down there, but for $2,600, he could provide a water filtration system for the church. The final thing as we finish up tonight is to say that I know that Pastor Marilyn and I are transitioning, but I'm going to be working as I move into this new role to see how we might be able to cooperate together and do some work going forward. But that's all up to the folks that are coming and our new churches and stuff. We're in a time of transition. But I want to say from the depths of my heart, thank you. For being here tonight. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing. If you have more questions or want to know more, please reach out to our team members that just went, or reach out to me, and I'd be glad to talk to you more about that and how that, if you want to be a part of funding one of these projects or will be a part of that in some way, shape, or form, I think we would still be open to trying to do that with you and through you. And so, team, have I not covered anything I didn't cover tonight that I needed to cover? Yeah, I do the whole presentation to have any questions, but I think that's probably more on one-on-one. So I'll hang around and be a part of that. We do have pork that needs to be taken home, so don't forget that tonight. Team, did I not cover anything or that you all wanted me to cover, or did I not say anything that you all needed to say? I know that I sort of did the preacher thing and ran through the whole thing, but I just wanted you all to have your chance to say your piece too. I just want to sort of cover everything. Well, I tell you, it's a rare blessing to know what your call is and get to live into it. And you all have afforded me that opportunity, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of that. So I look forward to where it might be. I also did get a phone call from some folks. We took a backpack down for them, and they called me and just went overboard saying thank you. Yeah, everything made it. So a lot of the transporting of the stuff. Got the tires. Joelle and Lily were happy moms and dads. They got their Mother's Day cards, they got the medicine, and they got the tires and everything else that we took. So, yeah, all was good. So I'll hang out for a minute if you want to talk to me and do anything like that. I'm sure our team would be glad to entertain your questions. Let's say a prayer of blessing tonight, and then we'll send ourselves forth. God, thank you so much for this night that we come together. Thank you for each person that's given of their time, those who especially went and gave of their talents and love for you. Lord, thank you for the gifts that have been given, and Lord, we just pray that you would consecrate those gifts and the ones that we hope will be given long term. God, we thank you for this relationship that you put in this church's path. And Lord, thank you for the opportunity to serve in such a wonderful place. Lord, as we put maybe a semicolon to this journey for right now, Lord, may it not be a period. But Lord, may we just give you thanks for what you've done. In your name we pray. Amen and amen. All right. Thank you all. Anybody wants pork? Marilyn, can you help me maybe part up the pork if anybody wants?